According to Google, it is almost impossible to lose weight if you're female over 50. But what a bold, I just want you to understand that that is a bold faced lie. If we believe this lie, we're falling into the trap, right? Food companies and pharma need us to believe that dieting is hard because it stops us from putting in a full fledged effort. And then if we don't lose weight, right? If we fail, we go right back to eating the garbage. And worse, even worse than eating the garbage, Wellness Warrior, is that we resume harming our health, right? We walk towards diabetes, heart disease, skin problems. The list is long. It is so easy to find stats about how, by the time we end our lives, we will have done 126 diets, which means we failed, Wellness Warrior, by the way, 125 times. Being over 50 decreases our ability to lose weight, apparently. That's something that's all over the internet, right? Have you ever wondered why? Why is it that we can't lose weight? Because evolutionarily, it doesn't make sense that we would be overweight because we would have needed to find food and chase animals and catch, like, throughout our entire lifetime. So the fact that we are unable to stay at a healthy weight, big question mark for me. Women are less likely to succeed on their diets than men. Data that shows that too. Also, I like this one. If you're coming from a country that prioritizes rice or potatoes, that's another strike against your ability to lose weight. If you go online and search, you find every single reason why you are going to fail if you try to lose weight. It's not only hard to find any kind of encouragement, but if you even look for people who's talking about having done it, right? If you try to find people that said, yes, I'm over 50 and I lost weight, especially if you're a woman, it's so hard. And by the way, can I point out that if you're female, you've likely been dieting probably from the time you're 30 years old, maybe even 25, because it's expected that we're supposed to be thin and always looking perfect and supermodel. So we've been trying to force our body to be a smaller size for years. And the fact that you're here watching this video is probably a testament to the fact that successfully living life at the right healthy weight is not easy. So first, I want to tell you that we can absolutely lose weight at any age if we eat the right foods. Now, there's a lot of argument about what those right foods are. And today, I'm going to start with the bold statement that a healthy diet is a meat-based diet, meaning it's not vegan or vegetarian. I'm saying that directly to you, meaning that the diet provides the 9 essential amino acids and the vitamins and minerals that we need each day. And they're essential because our body can't make them. So those 9 essential amino acids we don't make. And then those vitamins and minerals are essential because we have a hard time holding onto them in our body. So there are certain things we need to eat every single day. And, I was actually shocked recently to find out, because I had no clue about this, that vitamin B12, which I really did believe, even until I would say 3-4 months ago, I believed this, that we could get vitamins and minerals in the amounts we needed from plants, so from fruits and vegetables. I did believe that. I didn't think it was the good place to get it from because I learned that you can get it from meat and fish and eggs and poultry. But I still believe that people eating a vegan or vegetarian diet could get what they needed until I learned this. Vitamin B12 cannot be sufficiently eaten from plant matter. If you actually Now, when you look on Google and say, like, where do you find vitamin? They're going to tell you a bunch of plants that have it. It's not in sufficient amounts, which means that if you are doing a vegan diet, you absolutely must supplement. I was not aware of that. So that was new information to me. I learned last month or the month before. I can't remember when. Now, why do we need B12? Just for us to be clear on why you would want to supplement if you're doing vegan, but more importantly, why you want to eat meat and just not have to supplement if you eat meat and fish and poultry and eggs. Okay. B12 is needed for blood and nerve cell health. B12 is needed to make DNA. It helps prevent megaloblastic anemia, which is a blood condition that makes people tired and weak. We also know this condition by another name. It's called chronic fatigue syndrome. And I'll tell you, Wellness Warrior, when I read that one, I was angry because especially back in the 80s, 90s, when a lot of people were falling sick with chronic fatigue syndrome. First of all, when they were first presenting, they were being told that there's nothing wrong with them, that they're making it up, that being tired isn't a thing. So first of all, but second of all, to now find out that if you're doing a vegetarian or vegan diet, you're likely not getting enough B12, which will absolutely give you this condition. And yet still, I only learned about this, like B12 being a problem, a month ago. I only learned about that let me read it again, megaloblastic anemia and chronic fatigue syndrome was the same condition. I learned that this morning. That makes me angry. It makes me angry because here we go again, where we are told that a way of eating is healthy. That isn't healthy. It creates a condition that clearly had a lot of people on this planet struggling, and it's not brought back to our attention. Oh, and I mean in a big, huge, wide way, brought back to our attention that we figured it out. It was this. It was caused by this. If you eat meat, you're going to be fine. I've never heard if you eat meat, your chronic fatigue syndrome will go away. So I'm shocked, Wellness Warrior. I'm shocked by this. I'm wondering how many vegetarians and vegans had chronic fatigue and were not helped. Anyways, that was one that blew my mind. So, Wellness Warrior, I want you to think long and hard right now. If you can think of one person that lost weight after the age of 50, I would love for you to put yes in the chat. There's 18 people here watching. So, yes, if you know someone who lost weight over 50, after 50, and if you know someone who lost weight in their 40s, I would love to see 40 in the chat. Now, there's a reason for this. So let's just put that in. I'm kind of curious to know if you know anybody. So I'm going to take a moment to say hello to Pat. Hi, glad that you're here. And Ange, hello. And Ange knows someone, okay, who over 50. Perfect. Lady Summer Queen Candace of the town says yes. Marnie Mack says, yes, it was you. Congratulations, Marnie Mack. I'm terrific. I find that's terrific to know that that was something that you were able to do. Perfect. Okay. And nobody knows someone who did it in their 40s? Okay. But you know what? Knowing someone who did it in their 50s, that's still amazing. So here we go. What I want you to know, that there are examples, right? And if there's anyone who wasn't able to put yes in the chat today or put 40 in the chat today, then I want you to know that's the last time you're ever going to be able to say that, because I'm an example of that. I was 46 when I lost 80 pounds and got my life back, Wellness Warrior. And if you're new here, I want to share something. I used keto to solve my hip pain, and that took me 3 months. And I lost 80 pounds after just 5 months. And I've maintained my weight loss for the past 6 years. We all want to be happy, right? We want to live that happy life and we want to be healthy. We need both physical and mental health to be happy and to experience that sense of well being that we get. Like we need both of them every single day, Wellness Warrior. This is why I make these videos. And I'm encouraging you that I'm about to go through some diets with you. And I'm encouraging you to pay attention, take notes, and pick the one that you can do to stay on track forever. Right? Because these lies that we find on the internet that says that weight loss is near impossible drive me up the wall. They drive me crazy. I can't stand it because weight loss is absolutely possible if you know what foods to eat. So today I want to talk about 4 diets. All right? There's a good diet, a better diet, the best diet, and then there's the gold standard, the diet that can't be challenged. And I'm going to talk about all 4 of them. Let's start with the good diet, right? Because that's the low carb diet. Low carb diets work, right? They work, especially if you start your low carb diet when you're young. So I am a great proponent of the fact that every single young person should be doing a low carb diet, right? Because when you're young and you start your low carb diet before you have any health issues, then you're going to be in the best possible position moving forward because you're going to keep your body in that state of not having any health issues. It's the best time that these diets work. Now, a low carb diet is going to keep you under 120 grams of carbs daily. And that drastically reduces the speed at which your body is being harmed by those carbohydrates, right? This is part of the reason that when we go in the Wayback Machine and we look at, our great grandparents or even our grandparents, my grandparents were in this situation. They were doing that low carb lifestyle and they went really, I'd say great grandparents, maybe they went really far into their life before they started to have problems. And especially our great grandparents, like got really far into their life before any weight issues started to show. So low carb is a great beginning. Now, being mindful of what you're eating is another great benefit of a low carb diet. It gets you thinking about what you're putting in your mouth, right? Especially at that young age where we're teaching our kids to treat, treats as occasional scenarios, right? Like you don't have ice cream every day. You don't have cookies every day. You're teaching your kids to treat these things as something you have maybe every other week, right? We're aiming them at healthy foods as much as possible. And because of that, we tend to eat less garbage, right? So there's less junk food, there's less sugary drinks, and there's for sure less alcoholic drinks because we tend to make better choices when we're trying to do a low carb lifestyle. Now, but if the nice thing about these low carb diets is that they maintain good health. So that means that you're going to have less, like if you start early and you don't have a diagnosis, you're going to move much further into your life without getting a diagnosis. The other positive is that socially, low carb diets are very similar to the normal diet, right? The diets that most people are doing. So most people aren't even going to notice that you're making these different choices. You're probably just going to look like a person that doesn't eat much junk. But outside of that, it's like there's not much difference between what you're doing and what most other people are doing. The con for the low carb diet, though, is that they still have a high enough carb count that you could eat, you could still eat garbage. I mean, that is part of the problem with the high carb foods that you're still allowed to eat, because you can eat those high carb foods and still fall under your 120. Right? So your body's still going to be dealing with toxic levels of sugar, first of all, because 120, that's a lot of sugar coming in the day, and plant toxins. And so therefore your body is still being pushed to store fat. And so when it removes it from the body, right, it stores it as fat. So those plant toxins and excess sugar are still going to be doing damage to the body. You're still going to be gaining weight. It's just going to be a slower weight gain, a slower damage. And like I said, low carb does not address the ultra processed foods. You can still have a lot of junk food on that diet. So, the better diet that I want to talk about is keto. And keto begins to tackle the amount of sugar that's coming in, right? So your body isn't getting assaulted every day like it is on standard or the low carb. So the carb intake is lower to the amount that the average person can actually manage, which according to doctors is 20 grams of carbs. I want to pause here for a second to point out that on a keto diet, when you look it up, it says 50 grams of carbs. The reason that I keep saying 20 is because although 50 grams of carbs is what would get a healthy person back into a ketogenic state, so you don't have any metabolic, anything's happening, if you have any kind of metabolic damage, it will take you 20 grams or less to get into a ketogenic state. How do I know if I have any kind of metabolic damage? The number one sign is you have weight to lose, right? If I have weight to lose, that means that my insulin levels have already risen to a point where they're outside of the safe and normal range that we should have them at. That's number one. The other way that you can tell is perhaps you have inflammation. I had both. I had weight to lose. I had inflammation problems. You might have heart issues, or basically if your body's damaged and you're in a bad, you're probably in a bad metabolic situation. So the best option you have is to aim at that 20. Now, over the years, there has been a lot of conversation about things like lazy keto, dirty keto versus clean keto. And I want to point out that many people who do clean keto show amazing benefits, whereas people that do dirty, lazy keto show benefits, but there's a bit of a divide. And because I only get this one opportunity to sit here in front of you and tell you what I think was going to be the most helpful, I'm going to help you to see where clean keto, so eating whole foods, that's what I consider clean keto. Whole foods is what you want to be aiming at. Because if you're eating lazy keto, dirty keto, you're still letting in some toxic elements. For example, the seed oils that will be used to cook the whatever you're getting from the fast food joint. So for example, back when I was still allowing myself to have fried chicken from the fast food joint, my body was still struggling once in a while. But when I took that out of the mix, I was pleasantly surprised at how my skin improved and how my joint pain dropped. Even like I stopped having those occasional flare-ups, which I wasn't sure where they were coming from. It turns out it was coming from the seed oils. So live and learn, right? Dr. Berry said it at the very beginning when I was learning how to do this, and I maybe just didn't note it strong enough for myself, that seed oils should not be part of our diet. So because there's very few ultra processed food that fall into a clean keto diet, like very, very few, we end up eating much better. And so keto improves our health, like clean keto improves our health amazingly. It allows us to have weight loss at very high levels and to maintain that weight loss. I'm sitting here and it's been 6 years. I'm still at the same weight. I haven't put back on weight, which is really amazing, Wellness Warrior, because I don't know if I've ever done a diet where I lost a significant amount of weight and within a year hadn't put back on at least half. And it's been 6 years and I haven't even put back on like any of the weight. Like I'm so excited about that. Now, improved mental health is another thing that people who do keto talk about. Their bipolar disorder improves, their depression improves, anxiety improves, seizures improves. And I'm putting it here, that's a physical, and it's like, but I mean, it's part of your brain. It's a physical one, but it's also, if I'm having seizures all the time, it's scary. You don't want to drive it. It's like, so it does cause a lot of emotional stuff for people too. My point is, look at all the things that improve by doing keto. It also helps us to reduce abdominal fat. And I think that's one of the most amazing things that we see when people do keto, because you can do all kinds of diets and you lose weight. But the speed at which abdominal fat decreases, and again, it stays low, is amazing to me. I, again, have lost weight in the past, but my abdomen, it was all over weight loss. Now, maybe part of the reason that people's abdominal fat actually also diminishes is because we lose weight all around. Of course, the fat comes off all around. But then as we keep moving forward and we keep losing, well, the fat that's there is what's left and what gets addressed. And perhaps that's why. Perhaps it's also because of the fact that we're not eating the inflammatory things. We're not constantly forcing our body to have to store fat where it doesn't have space to store fat. And so therefore, our body is able to clean up this visceral fat and abdominal fat, so subcutaneous fat as well, that is just not healthy for us to have. Ultimately, your body wants to be healthy, Wellness Warrior. And cleaning that up means that you are less likely to have things like heart disease, which is a great benefit to us. And so therefore, I encourage us to look at keto as an amazing option to get your health back under control. Now, doing keto can also reset blood sugar and insulin levels back to their normal levels, which again is amazing for helping you to be healthy long into the future. There are some negatives, though, of keto that I want to talk about because it doesn't address the fructose damage to our liver. If you do a keto lifestyle with whole foods, you're still able to eat enough fruit to cause damage to the liver. You're still able to eat enough sweet veg even to cause damage to the liver. So I want to say that to help you to make better choices in the fruits. And well, I wouldn't be choosing fruits personally unless you're talking about avocado and olives. All the other fruit I would be putting down. But I would also encourage you to think about those sweet vegetables like peppers and all the things that taste sweet to you. Those are the ones where they could still bring in enough fructose to do damage to the liver. Remember, our liver, so our intestines can filter out about 5 grams of fructose, and then it's overloaded and it can't do that anymore. So that's including any fructose you might also be drinking. Some alcoholic beverages still have fructose in the, so you really need to pay attention to where your carbohydrates are coming from and make sure that the fructose levels are low. So that's one of the cons. There are more keto branded ultra processed foods appearing in stores, which I find is another con because people who are okay with lazy, dirty keto are then going to see these products and the possibility of getting pulled back into that ultra processed world is there again. Not to mention the fact that this just gives companies another way to get us, right? Another way to trick us into letting go of our healthy way of eating, which I really want you to consider a bad thing. I really feel like we don't want that to be what we're doing, Wellness Warrior. So another problem that I have with the products, though, is that MCT oil is a tricky one. A lot of people seem to believe that MCT oil is kind of positive or at the worst neutral. I think that MCT oil can give us a false sense of success on keto. One of the videos that I remember from my very beginning was another video by Dr. Barry, where he pointed out that taking MCT oil is giving your body ketones that it didn't work for. And so it doesn't mean that you're in a ketogenic state. So you might be overeating your carbohydrates, but because you're taking MCT oil, you're still going to see ketones if you're testing. And that's going to give you the false impression that you're in a ketogenic state. Being in a ketogenic state is what is actually healthy, right? That's what's actually helping us to our body to solve and heal itself, right? Is what allows the body to use the fat that's on board. So I am always wondering about people who say they're doing keto, they're doing everything right, they don't understand why they're not losing. Are you one of those people that's using MCT oil and perhaps you're not realizing that your carb count, if you're doing keto, is over, or that you might be doing MCT oil while you're doing carnivore, even, but putting yourself in a position where you just have too much energy coming in because MCT oil is an energy source. So you have too much energy coming in, and therefore your body has so much energy that it has no reason or no ability, I should say, to burn fat that's on your body. So anything that isn't whole food, I want us to think hard about, Wellness Warrior. The other problem that carnivore causes, sorry, I'm jumping ahead. The other problem that keto might cause is that you feel different than other people, right? Like if you feel different than everybody else, you're less likely to be comfortable socializing because we tend to socialize around food. So I go to this event and now I'm hesitant to like make my plate look so different than everybody else's plate. And I therefore end up either A, putting things on my plate that I end up eating because I'm not solid in my keto way of life, or B, I just end up not going because I don't want to have to struggle with my food. And neither one of those is a good situation because being social is part of being a healthy, well rounded person. We need that social contact. We need to be around people. So that's a problem that keto can cause many people to have. And many people also struggle to know what to eat when they're doing keto because as long as you keep your carb count low, so under that 20 grams for the day, any food is actually allowed, right? And now you might be asking, well, why do people say that you can't eat potatoes, you can't eat rice? Like there's all these things that you can't eat. I just finished saying you shouldn't be eating fruit, right? So I'm actually going to come back to this in a bit because it's really important, and I want to make sure I say it properly. And this is not the moment in the video, so I'm going to come back to that point. But as soon as you mention to your doctor that you're keto, you're going to be blamed for your health issues, or if you end up in the hospital, even sometimes they refuse to even ask you about your food. And so you might be given foods that you can't eat for the first few days and struggle because you're hungry. And then they're going to be questioning why you're not eating, and they're going to think there's something wrong with you because you're not eating. So problems. But also the fact that you might get, if you're unconscious, you might get medications or drips or whatever that have sugar, glucose in them that shock your body because you haven't had, I know for myself that I haven't had sugar in 6 years, like at that normal people levels, right? I've been under 20 grams for 6 years. So, and in the last 4 months, I've been at no carbs coming in. So if I were to be in the hospital and they put an IV of sugar in me, I don't know what would happen. And I feel like that's a very scary scenario for a lot of us, like not knowing what would happen. But first of all, I don't even know how my body would react, but how do we stop that from happening to us? I'm curious about your experiences with doctors, actually. Quickly, if you don't mind, could you let me know, like, if you've had good experiences with your doctors, perhaps putting like, smiley face, perhaps, so I can see it from this, and maybe thumbs down if you've had like a negative experience. I'm kind of curious to know if any of you have, what kind of experience you guys have had in this kind of situation. And while I'm waiting for that, let's say hello to some more people. Cami, hi, and glad to know you're one of the 40s. Um, Let's see. You're and you added that you were also did it at 40 as well. That's terrific. Um, hello, um, Marnie Mac. You're 5 years keto, 61 years old now. Congratulations on being 61, which means that you started when you were in your 50s as well. And Lynn started in her 60s. So, you know what? We can lose weight at any age. And we need to understand that, Wellness Warrior, that we can lose weight at any age. So let me just, I'm going to scroll forward here to see, do we have any thumbs up? So I have a thumb down from Marnie Mac, for your doctor. Nope. And medium experience for Pat with the pharmacist. Yeah, your pharmacist was very positive um, towards you, and that was great. I did appreciate the way that your pharmacist took the time to talk through so much of the stuff with you. Okay, so in my opinion, today I'm going to let you in on the best diet that we can do before we get onto that, gold standard diet that I want to talk about. So everybody should be doing, well, no, that's the gold standard. Today I want to talk about the best diet being carnivore, right? But carnivore as defined by me. So I have some adjustments to carnivore that I want to talk about. First, I want to point out that I have always seen carnivore as a subset of keto, and I've seen keto as a subset of the low carb diet, right? So because of that, the way that I envision carnivore was where you were eating meat, fish, poultry, and eggs. Now, I do understand that people also were drinking or taking like dairy products in there as well. So you have your cheeses and you have your creams and you have your milks and whatever. And all of that, yes, I in my mind, now milk high in sugar. So I was feeling that people would have to be limiting this because in my mind again, we're still under the rubric of keto. Now, I've stated repeatedly myself when I was keto, and I was keto because I was eating avocado and olives 2 to 3 times a week. Once in a while, maybe once every other week, I was having a salad. In my mind, looking at the foods that I was eating, so meat, poultry, fish, eggs, avocado, olives, salad, I put myself in the category of keto. So I was really shocked when I started seeing this um, carnivore plus fruit thing popping up, right? Because, like, I was the only leeway I was giving people who were carnivore, myself included, was the spices that I was putting on my meat, so and coffee. And occasionally, and I wasn't carnivore like I did in my history before this moment of doing carnivore. 2 years ago, I did 2 months of carnivore diet. During that 2 months of carnivore diet, I was allowing spices because in my mind, that was the way that I had defined carnivore for myself. That you could have spices, you could have coffee, you could drink tea. You weren't eating vegetation. Okay. More recently, there's this conversation where now we're saying carnivore plus fruit. I contend that that is actually keto, Wellness Warrior. And I myself have stopped putting spices on my meat because I realize from talking to Dr. Chaffee actually that those spices are flavorful and intensely flavorful because there's still stuff in there my mouth is reacting to and my body is actually reacting to. And so, yes, I actually changed my mind on that one, and I now see that spices are involved here. So, for me, now we're in that realm of Yes, I could see where a little bit of spices, you might still call yourself carnivore. I now don't call myself carnivore if I'm taking in things with spices, but are carnivore on that day. So what I've started to do, because every once in a blue moon I'll go out to a restaurant and the restaurant will make me a piece of meat with spices on it. That's a keto day. The same way that I used to have carnivore days back when I was doing keto, I would have days where I only ate meat and it was a carnivore day. I was not carnivore by any stretch of the imagination. The same way that if somebody only eats meat once a week, they're not vegetarian or vegan. They're still eating meat. They're just having it once a week. Multiple reasons why people might do that. You might think it's more healthy. You might think a lot of things. You might not have the funds for the meat to be every day. Whatever the reason, if you're eating meat once a week, you're not vegetarian. So I think that it's important for us to be honest with ourselves, because when we're honest with ourselves, then we can actually look at how our body's reacting to the different things our body's reacting to and make the best possible decisions for ourselves. Because that's the other part of this, is that I need to understand what foods cause my body to behave and react in what ways. And the only way that I'm going to be able to do that is by sincerely looking at what diet I'm trying to do in the moment. So, with this definition of carnivore, where we're talking about eating meat, fish, eggs, poultry, you know, dairy, that's the lowest of carb because we're trying to stay under 20 grams. And right, because that's the keto lifestyle, right? So we're trying to stay as low, as close to zero as possible. And so we're salting our meat and we're putting the least amount of spices on it to, you were trying to keep it everything as low as possible. There are amazing benefits that people get. And I want to talk about the benefits because they are very, very similar to the keto benefits, but times 10, right? Like people who, lost a good amount of weight and then were stalled, they do carnivore and they get to their goal weight or very close to it. And we have people who do all kinds of amazing things. Their mental health improves. You were doing really good on keto, but then you go to carnivore and it's even better. I've seen a lot of people actually talk about the fact that when they did carnivore, not only did their food chasing stop, but all their chasing stopped. They're able to quit smoking. They're able to quit all the vices that they had when they went carnivore. There's a lot of positives there. Now, there's some negatives when it comes to carnivore. A lot of them are very similar to the keto world. So I'm not going to run through each and every one of those because, like I said, they're very close. There's one though that I want to take the time to talk about in more detail, and that's oxalate dumping. And I'm going to add to that. We talk about oxalate dumping, but I want to add to that the other kind of, like, any other toxin that might be released into my system dumping. Because yes, there's oxalate dumping, but I am also, as I think forward on this, believing, like, as I understood what oxalate dumping is, it helped me to see that it's going to happen with more than just oxalate. So our body protects us by storing toxins in fat and tissues around the bodies, right? So when we lose weight, we begin to release those toxins back into the system, right? Because our body is breaking down our fat, which is where the toxins were being held. Now they're coming back into the system. If they're released too quickly, they can actually be harmful and dangerous to us, right? So again, that whole dose makes the poison. It's just a little bit of something in my blood. It's not a big deal. My liver will, titrate it out and get it out of me. But if there's a lot of a toxin in my body, I'm going to feel the impact. It's going to have an impact. So why don't you think about it like this? You go to the garage and you get your oil changed. They take the oil out of the car and then they put it in a big drum, right? And between taking it out and they walking across and put it in the drum, they might spill a few drips on the floor, but they'll get it into the drum and the garage can continue to function. However, on the day that the truck comes to clear up that that drum of oil. If the truck tips that oil over by accident and it spills all over the garage can no longer function, right? There's a huge problem. And until they get that oil cleaned up, the garage is at a standstill. And we see that happening to people with oxalates. Their body starts to dump, and then they're either in pain or uncomfortable, full of rash, problems are happening that they need to address, but they're having a hard time addressing because they're in such distress. And so it's important for us to understand that if you're going from a standard diet to a carnivore diet, that's going to be a problem, because you're going to go from storing oxalates and other plant toxins to releasing them into the system, because your body's going to start breaking down your body fat at such a quick rate. It's actually better to go from standard diet to keto, live there for a while, get really comfortable, let your body adjust and let everything be feeling great, and then go from keto to carnivore, so that you don't cause a big dump into the system that your body needs to be overwhelmed with and not able to function. Okay. Are we ready, Wellness Warriors? Are we ready for the diet that is the gold standard? It's the diet that lowers cholesterol. It's the diet that gives us quick energy. It's the diet that is super fun to eat, socially acceptable, and extremely accessible. This is actually the easiest diet to do and the best way to gain weight. I'm talking about the standard American diet, Canadian diet, insert your country diet there. The standard diet causes inflammation, water retention, and general damage to the body. It is an obesogenic diet. Why is dieting harder as we age? Right? We talked about that at the very beginning. A better question is, why do we keep getting fatter as we age? It's because we always go back to the standard diet. Even if we lose weight on keto, on paleo, on low fat, on carnivore, we resume eating the standard diet and put all of the weight back on. There is a solution to this, Wellness Warrior. It's to choose a healthy meat-based diet and stick to it. Take note, the standard diet is a meat-based diet, right? Again, that's why we love it so much. We're not trying to take your meat away from you, which is, again, why do the companies, why does the internet, why is it always focused on taking away our meat? Because if they take our meat away, we are not able to do the diet long term. And if we can't do the diet long term, we will return to what? The standard diet. What we really need to do is choose a meat-based diet so that we're eating a healthy diet. And I want you to choose one of the three. So the good, the better, the best. One of the three that you know you can stick to. Of course, you know, if you're on this channel, that I'm suggesting keto or carnivore, only for the fact that the low carb diet's a bit tricky to stay healthy on in the long run. But if you do choose the low carb diet, just pay really super close attention to yourself, right? So that you can adjust over to keto when you will need to. Now, the fact that keto presents challenges, though, I want to talk about that for a little bit, because I want you to make your life as easy as possible so that when you start keto, you're going to enjoy keto and you're going to, like I did, eat keto for years into your future. You might transition to carnivore, you might not. We'll talk about that in a sec. But I want you to look at this keto diet as the beginning of your getting your body back, because that's what it did for me. I'm sure it can do it for you. getting your mental health back, and just living a rock solid life. And the first thing you're going to do in order to do that, we're going to talk a little bit about food. People always ask me to talk about food. I'm hesitant, but I think I figured out a way to talk about it that's going to help you and make it simple, which is this. I want you to look at your typical meals. I want you to just pull your meal plan out that you normally eat. What do you eat in the next 2 weeks? And you're going to look at each of the meals and you're going to say, first of all the processed meals. So the pizzas that you would order in. So the pizzas and the burgers and all that stuff, we're going to set those aside for a moment. We're not looking at that stuff. We're looking at home cooked meals. So I want the things that you make yourself. Perfect. You are going to look only at meals that have meats and side dish to start with, because we need this to be simple on this warrior. You're going to take the meat that you normally eat and you're going to cook it exactly the same way for the next month. And you're going to look at your vegetables and your side dishes, whatever your side dishes were. So whether it was rice, potatoes, or other vegetables, couscous, whatever your side dishes are, and you're going to find the healthiest vegetables that you like, cook them the way that you like, that fall under 20 grams of carbs per day, and put those on your plate. So the meats are not changing yet. We're only looking at the side dishes. You're going to do that for a month. You're going to get used to eating these vegetables with your normal meats. We're not making any changes there. Beginning of month 2, and you could have started this earlier if you wanted to, if you felt like you were really loving your veg. But if you can wait till the beginning of month 2. The beginning of month 2, now you're going to look at your meat. And you're going to look at the recipes and you're going to pull out the high carb vegetables and high carb whatevers that might be in there. Because sometimes, for example, we put a little bit of pasta in our meat when we're cooking it so we can make a nice gravy, or sometimes you put flour in there. So yes, you're going to pull out all that stuff out of your meats, and you're going to find ways to cook your meats now that are delicious to you. So the vegetables are delicious now. We figured that part out. We like them. That's the goal. We like them. And now we have some leeway to mess with the meat. So when we started month 1, we liked the meat, and the vegetables might have been a bit of a hit or miss as we played with that. Do not skip on the vegetable part, because it's what makes the meat part easy. Now we're going to do the same with the meat. We're going to change the recipe. We're going to do it in a way that is healthy for us to have. And now on my plate, by the end of this month, at the end of month 2, my entire day is 20 grams of carbs or less every single day. Now, if we do this successfully, I want to back up for a second. A little bit ago, I said that rice, potatoes don't belong in keto. And I want to explain why I said that. If I were to let myself put potatoes on my plate, for example, let's say that's the vegetable that I just can't let go of, right? Which it's funny because in my history, that would have been actually the vegetable that I would have chosen. Potatoes and carrots were the only 2 vegetables that I really actually ate before doing my keto lifestyle. So if I did that, the amount of potato that I would have been able to have on my plate to be under 20 grams wasn't a fun amount. And so it wasn't a satisfying meal, Wellness Warrior. Now, fast forward to today, I still understand where today I could have made that work. Maybe. If all I wanted was to taste the potato, but then I would have been happy to eat all my meat, I theoretically could have just eaten more meat. And I know that today. I didn't know that back then. But everybody has to do their pluses and minuses, right? Because if I eat right up to my 20 grams back then, even if it was just potato, but I ate right up to my 20 grams, there's a few problems that I would have lived. Maybe you wouldn't live this problem. Let me start there. But I would have lived this problem, so I want to explain it to you. First of all, I have a problem with nightshades. So had I never taken potatoes out of my life, I might not have solved my hip issue. So that those pains that I was getting, nightshades bring them back immediately. So I can tell if I go to a restaurant and there's peppers in the food, even though I asked for no peppers, because I'll eat it, and then like the next day, I was not happy. So those things would matter for me. The other problem that I'll show you that again what matters for me is that I can only have 18 grams of carbs. And then I push myself out of ketosis, another issue that I figured out by eating healthy. So if I would, and the reason I figured it out is because if I ate more than 18, I was chasing. So I'm like my chasing came back. I was craving and like I was out of control again. So if I would allow myself to eat up to that 20 on potatoes, I might never have figured that out. I might not have lost the weight. I might not have solved my hip issue, right? Because I would have still been like not in the ketogenic state. And so I would have lost some weight for sure because I was eating much less carbohydrate than in my history. But would I have gotten the results that I'm sitting here in front of you with? Not likely. So there's a reason that I'm asking you to do it this way. And part of it is that the goal is for you to be under 20 grams of carbs for the entire day so that you can at least start to evaluate what it feels like, first of all, to be not poisoning your body every day, but second of all, that you will also be able to tell if you're in a ketogenic state, right? Because if I'm over 20, 30, 40, I'm never going to be able to be, I'm not going to get into that state. And so therefore I'm going to lose weight for sure. It's still going to happen. The weight loss is going to happen, but I might not get down to my optimal weight because I'm still eating enough that keeps my insulin too high. But the other problem there is that you might also have other health problems brewing under the surface that insulin is involved in that are much more problematic than weight. Heart disease is much more problematic than weight. Mental health issues are much more problematic than weight. Diabetes is much more problematic than weight. There are so many worse things than weight. Okay. The goal of eating a ketogenic lifestyle is to eat whole foods. That's a goal I'm putting out there for you to think about. If we keep eating ultra processed foods, we are still allowing those fun flavors to mess with us. And some of those things taste sweet, which then engage my brain's reaction. So that cephalic response to sugar, which can cause us to chase. The goal is also to get into a ketogenic state, obviously. And in order to get into that ketogenic state, you might actually end up needing to be in a carnivore scenario. You know, one of the people that I've watched talk about their journey when it comes to food was Michaela Peterson. And in order to solve her health issues, she actually had to take all vegetation off her plate. And I feel like when we say had to, we're overemphasizing the need for carbohydrates. We don't need them. We don't need them, Wellness Warrior. What we need is a healthy body. And those carbohydrates are not allowing us to. So if you end up doing keto and realizing I need to be carnivore, whether it's I need to be carnivore to stay on track and not chase, or whether it's I need to be carnivore because when I eat those veg, even though I'm not chasing, my body just doesn't feel good, or my weight resumes going up, or whatever the reason is. If your body wants you to be carnivore because it's healthy, right? Like I was at goal. I've been at goal for 6 years or 5.5 when I started, or five, more than even 5.5. I was almost at my 6th year when I started carnivore. I started it because I understand that this can make me even healthier. And why would I not want that? Right? Why would I not want to be the healthiest I possibly can be? At some point, I'm going to fall and break a bone. At some point, I'm going to catch a cold or catch, worse than a cold, some kind of virus or something. At some point, something is going to happen that causes me to be sick. And why wouldn't I want my body to be in the best possible position to be able to solve? We need to understand that if we are physically ill, we're not going to enjoy life. We need to understand that if we're mentally ill, we are not going to enjoy life. Eating garbage has left most people on this planet either physically or mentally ill. And some of us have to deal with both. And when I learned multiple sources, I learned initially that food is what's causing us to be physically ill, right? Dr. Berg, Dr. Barry, Dr. Fung, Dr. Westman, Dr. Baker, Dr. Chafee, Dr. Bickman, Dr. Mason. Like, I can name them so easily because I watch them so regularly, because they help me to understand it's the food that was causing my physical problem. But now I'm understanding that the mental health is also being caused by food. Dr. Eid has come along and helped me to see that the food is the problem, right? And I can't remember the name of the doctor that she worked with. I know Dr. Westman was in on that study with the mental health, and the other doctor's name is evading me right now. But at the end of the day, Wellness Warrior, what all of this is helping me to come back to my basic roots. The number one thing that I used to say to you over and over again, which is that we need to prioritize health over taste. We need to prioritize health over taste because it's a healthy body that regulates its weight. That's never going to change. Wellness Warrior, are you prioritizing your health over the taste of garbage? Because if you're not, you're making a mistake. And if you've been struggling to stick to eating healthy, I'm also going to link a video that's going to help you to get your cravings under control, because that's the first thing you need to do for all the stuff I talked about here today to also work. You need both of those ideas working at the same time, right? I'm changing my food and I have my cravings under control. It's the most important thing you're going to do. So, Lynn, hello, and nice to see that you started at 60 in your 60s as well. So, hi, Craig. This is great. I'm glad to see so many people in here. And if there's questions, please QQQ. I would love to answer some questions. I'm actually going to scroll forward to see if there are any questions so far. I don't see any yet. Oh, wait. I'm going to well, I thought I saw one, but I'm going to scroll forward. And so let's just move on. Ange says, I recently started losing again after an 8-month stall. I think it's because you gave up coffee now 2 weeks. Because I think you meant to say I gave up coffee. Thank you for correcting it later. I could have just looked forward. So none other than you. I'm super slowly losing fat and gaining muscle. So I think I'm winning slowly. Melissa, you absolutely are. And thank you for joining. And I do agree with you that inflammation is evil. Hello, Gaston Kid. So Melissa Hauser, okay, had a medium reaction. And Gaston Kid asked, what is good for inflammation? What is good for inflammation is removing carbohydrates out of your diet, removing plants out of your diet, to be more specific. But I will say, you know what? I say both, because one of the things that I've learned the hard way, I would imagine, because I had so much inflammation in my body that walking was difficult, that doing most activities was difficult. And no, I'm going to correct myself. I think the most important thing to get out of your diet is probably seed oils. I'm going to go back to what Dr. Berry said. Seed oils are toxic. You throw them away. You don't even give them away. And I think that there's so much to understand in that statement that I don't know that I was giving it enough. I wasn't paying a close enough attention to that. So I would probably say the order of events is seed oils gone, which I did eliminate seed oils from my cooking immediately. So I had stopped cooking with seed oils from the time I saw that video. What I didn't do was stop going to restaurants that were cooking with seed oils. So that took me a little while to like really dial in. And I wish I would have done that much earlier. After that, I would say the next thing that I would be the carbohydrates, and which would hopefully pull in all that vegetation. So the less vegetation you're taking in, I believe, the better you're going to decrease your inflammation, and eating protein with its accompanying fat. Those are the things I think if we do those things well, our body is going to thank us a millionfold. Marnie Mack, the Canadian Olympian. Excellent. Thank you for sharing that. Oh, I see some more people talking, answering to what I said earlier. I was asking the question of whether or not doctors gave positive or negative feedback. And Miss April says it's been mixed. Most doctors I've talked to still use calories in and out and exercise approach. And I do have a supportive physician now who agrees with my intermittent fasting and keto approach. I am so happy for you. Still looking for one here in Montreal, Canada. They're not easy to find. And I'm still looking. But with my doctor, I just talk about the fact that I don't eat junk food and I don't eat high sugar foods, but I don't specify that as keto because that would cause a meltdown. Low carb diet and intermittent fasting, carnivore, good for reducing inflammation. I don't know if you're answering somebody, so I'm just going to keep going on. Oh, there's a question here from Cookie Carter. Hello, Cookie. Hi, Violet. Nice being on a live. How to identify the keto flu? So first of all, I want to correct the term. I know people call it the keto flu. It is actually withdrawal from sugar. So how do you identify withdrawal from sugar? The same way you identify most withdrawal. You're going to have headaches. You're going to have like you might be shaking and feeling like either sweaty or cold. You're going to have thoughts of eating junk, like and that's going to start with eating junk. But if you don't give in to the eating junk part, it is going to be things like I need a slice of bread, I need some potatoes, so your body is trying to get you to give it sugar because it's run on sugar for so long, and now it's kind of freaking out and withdrawing from the sugar. What other things? You could have also like digestive disturbance as well. If you look up withdrawal symptoms, you're going to get a nice list. And most of what was listed on the list that I got from, which list did I think it might have been the National Health Institute that I looked up, but it might have been also WebMD. I'm not sure which one. But when I looked it up, I had every symptom that they listed. I had it. But luckily for me, I already knew that it was withdrawal. I already knew that it was withdrawal just because of the first few symptoms. I kind of clicked in again with what I do. So thank you for sharing, Catherine Albers, that you've maintained for 3 years and you've lost 60 pounds. That's amazing. 76. Congratulations. That's very cool. So nightshades for you as well. Tomatoes cause cysts on my chin. Potatoes bloat and ache me, etc. It is amazing to me how these foods are not only shown, like talked about as if they're harmless, but tomatoes are in so many foods. Like at least we kind of see French fries as a villain, but tomato sauces are very, very common. How many people have all kinds of acne and don't realize that is coming from the tomatoes that they're eating? So I do find it very, very sad. Um, so 45 years, starting 5 years ago. Congrats, Aaron, 69 years old. Congrats to you. Uh, so you didn't realize how toxic veggies were until you quit them. They seem to be less toxic if I boil them to death, but then why bother? Honestly, I have this opinion of what is the point of less toxic? So unless I'm starving, I'm not looking for less toxic, I'm looking for healthy. And I feel like we all need to grow this attitude. We shouldn't be just eating something because it's not so bad. We should be eating what is good for us. And we can only do that when we really focus our attention on doing what's good for us all the time. Who would have thought that so-called healthy food could be bad for you? I totally agree. I didn't know that, and now we do. And what is important for us to do is take action on what we know. If I know that this food is not healthy, then I'm going to only eat the healthy foods and ignore everything else. And I have a question here from Javier Diz Gonzalez. Hi, I'm glad you're able to make it today. Haven't seen your name in a while. It is a must to keep at it. If you stick to healthy food, the rest will take care of itself. If you deviate, just do it again because that's going to happen. I do agree. You know, it's possible that you eat something not realizing it would take you off track. Like I said, for myself, I thought 20 grams was going to be my number because that's the number that every doctor says. So I was allowing myself to eat right up to 20 grams until I found myself chasing. And then realized that I can't do up to 20 grams. Thank goodness I didn't have to go through withdrawal again because that would have been horrible. At least not at that point in time when I figured out the 20 grams. I did have it when I did the peanuts, or not the peanuts, sorry, the cashews thing. I did have to go through withdrawal again. Not huge, mild, but it was still frustrating to have my brain like running on food all the time and like trying like that was annoying. Thank you. I appreciate the correct term, sugar withdrawal. Yeah, no problem. I think we need to know what the term is in order to make better decisions. By the way, part of my reason for being so annoyed with finding out that chronic fatigue syndrome had a medically figured out reason for it that wasn't pushed to the media. I remember watching an episode of Golden Girls, and on that episode, um, they they pointed out that she like Dorothy, actually it was maybe 2 or 3 episodes. Actually it took like a while for them to figure it out. I think I remember it continued, but Dorothy was was struggling to get out of bed, struggling to go to work, like exhausted, and went to her doctor, explained what was going on. The doctor didn't believe her, told her, I think at one point told her she needed a boyfriend or something stupid like that, just totally dismissive. And then um later on, like we find out that she had chronic fatigue syndrome. But in the episode, they don't mention that it was a B12 deficiency. They don't mention that like they have a medical term for it, or go, although I guess in that episode they wouldn't say that, but like they didn't give us what the answer was. Now at the time, maybe they didn't know yet that it was a B12 deficiency, but at the time she said that it's a real condition and that people have it, and that was the point of the video, the episode. But the fact that I was a kid watching that show. So fast forward to today, that let's say I was back in the 80s. So I don't know how, like 40 years later, fast forward to today, that I'm only now finding out that chronic fatigue syndrome is caused by a B12 deficiency. It blows my mind. That's like me not knowing that scurvy is caused by vitamin C deficiency. Like how like it shouldn't be like that. Those two things should just be stuck together so people know that, and knowing would help you to solve it. What if you're walking around feeling exhausted and just not knowing what to try, and something as simple as eating some meat could help you? We should know this. I'm really, really frustrated that it's not something that's spoken about more. So we have um, Nicole C. Hi, found some of your videos last night and now I'm a new subscriber. Oh, thank you for subscribing. I appreciate that. Today is my keto day, one for the millionth time. And you're so right. Health over taste. So this is your millionth time. Okay, so I have a suggestion for you. If today is day one, plan out the next 2 weeks what you're going to eat and know what you're going to cook. Go to the grocery store, buy those things, and make it easy for yourself. The night before or 2 nights before, just just know what you're going to cook the next day. Do not leave it until the day you're going to cook to be trying to figure out what you're going to cook. That opens the door to doing my habit. So if my habit is I'm hungry and cooking is going to take too long, so I want to pop a pizza in the oven, then you'll do it. Versus if my plan is to eat, I don't know, some fish and some vegetables, and that's what I have on the menu for tonight, and it's already like the fish is already in the fridge waiting for me, I'm much more likely to do that. And especially fish is a faster thing to cook, so that's easier to do if I'm hungry. I would really try to make my meals as simple and quick to make as possible. At the beginning of my journey, I had a rule of 20 minutes. I needed to be in and out of the kitchen in 20 minutes. And actually, I love that so much. I still do it. If most of my meals, I'm in and out of the kitchen 20 minutes, and the things that take longer than 20 minutes to cook, I have them timed so well that I can go to the kitchen, put the stove on the number it's supposed to be on, put it in the pan, set my alarm, walk away. The alarm goes off. I come back, I flip or whatever I need to do, walk away. I'm not in the kitchen. My total time in the kitchen is not more than 20 minutes. So, like, you need to figure out a way to make this as simple for yourself and delicious, simple and delicious as you can, so that you do it and you just keep doing it and that you're not going to stop doing it. So I hope that helps you, Nicole. Jersey Mike, hello. Hi there. Thank you for sharing. I'm 62 and still trying to reprogram my mind on food. I'm sorry, on what food is best for humans. Yeah, the best way to reprogram your mind is to reprogram your actions. Set yourself up for success by doing the behavior, eating the food, so eating the healthy food. And then, can I point out, like, one of the things that I made sure I did at the very beginning was made sure I wasn't hungry. What I understood from all the doctors that I was watching was that being hungry wasn't part of the story. And so therefore I didn't try to be hungry. And what that equaled was when I was hungry, I ate. So a meal. So that was the other thing I understood, is that we need to eat meals. Though they were encouraging, and I was lucky because when I started this process, none of the doctors that I was watching had any kind of products or anything. So they were straight up telling you, don't snack, eat real food, eat when you're hungry. So that's what I did. I didn't snack. I ate real food. I ate when I was hungry. Because I did that, I had a meal every time I was hungry. Eventually, I got to the place where my body was just able to tap into the fat that was on me because I wasn't putting garbage in. And therefore, I wasn't chasing anymore. I'm trying to get you to see, if you stop chasing, you're going to feel so much better. And this is going to be so much easier. Number two is, though, if you're in a moment right now where you are struggling, you need to struggle and win. Do not do the easy thing of, oh, I'm just going to eat one cookie and I'll start tomorrow. You won't start tomorrow. Do not do the easy thing of, I'm going to hide from food. so that I just can't eat it, that's also not going to be a win for you. I'm not saying stock your pantry with your favorite junk food and try to resist it. But what I am saying is that it's important for you to eat healthy food when you're hungry. It's important for you to choose the healthy food over the garbage. And it's important for you to once in a while be in a situation where you have to make that choice. In my house, at the beginning, yes, I bought groceries to suit what I was eating. My daughter had options because she could eat junk food at my mom's place, and the boys had options because they could eat junk food at Pat's place, and Pat could do the same. So at the beginning, I made my house for the first 2 weeks. It only took me 2 weeks, thankfully and interestingly. I made my house safe for me. And after 2 weeks, and I don't even know why it had happened, but my daughter, someone gave her a chocolate bar and she brought it home and it was on the counter. And a mere 2 weeks later, I moved that chocolate bar across the counter and didn't think to eat it. And I only noticed that about 5 or 10 minutes later when I was washing some dishes and realized I didn't think to eat it. Now, I do have a rule, and I had a rule before I started any of this dieting, that if something belonged to my daughter, it wasn't for me to eat. I wouldn't have eaten it anyways, but I would have thought about it. I would have thought about either eating it or getting my own chocolate bar. And neither of those two thoughts had come to my mind. And can I say, I was shocked, astounded, and impressed at how quickly changing my diet, living through withdrawal, which lasted day 3, 4, and part of 5, and then getting to a 2-week point allowed me to be able to do that easily. Because in my mind, that was easy. So I hope that's helpful, Jersey Mike, because I really do want you to succeed. Is keto better than carnivore, or is it personal preference? Thank you. What I would say, let me just take a sip of water here. Talking a lot. What I would say is that, in my opinion, health-wise, carnivore, if you do carnivore, that's eggs, meat, fish, poultry, salt, drink water, that's the best diet from what I'm understanding today. If you decide to occasionally, and I haven't lived it yet, so I haven't gotten to the occasional I wanted to eat a piece of veg yet, and it's been, I'd say, about 4 months at this point. I don't know if that's going to happen to me at some point where I'm going to want a piece of veg for some reason, but it might happen. So I'm not ruling it out. I'm just saying, if you get to the point where you occasionally want a piece of veg, like Dr. K, I think that that's normal and it's fine. But like, if that's occasional, then yes, I would probably, like, occasional meaning like once every few months or whatever, I would still consider that a carnivore diet. If you're weekly eating any kind of vegetation, then you're doing keto. So at that point, it's about levels. When I was doing avocado, olives, and meats, I felt super healthy. I stopped the avocado because Sally Norton helped me to understand that the way that they harvest avocados for them to get to Canada, they pick them from the tree too early. They are very high in oxalate. I am no longer eating them. And the reason I stopped eating olives was because I'm lazy and I don't like pitting them. So I just thought, you know what? I'm giving up avocados anyways. They're both gone. And I just took them out of my diet. Might I ever eat an avocado in the future? Of course, it might happen. So I'm not saying I'm never going to touch sorry, I said avocado. I meant to say olive. Might I ever eat an olive in the future? I might. I'm not saying it's never going to happen. Avocado, I really don't think I would, unless it was ripe on the tree and I picked it, because then the tree would have pulled the toxins out of it. In that case, I might have an avocado. So this is me pointing out that as I learn things, I apply them. I'm encouraging each one of you to do the same. And that's how I got to the current state of being carnivore. I'm learning stuff and I'm applying it to myself. Javier says, is it important not to feel ashamed if you start eating differently? A lot of people may think you're weird. It's about keeping it up, right? Uh, and with time, you become stronger in making good decisions. It is important to not to feel ashamed. I agree with you 1,000%. Um, at the beginning of my journey, I would probably say that, well, let's call it a year in. Let's call it a year in. Pat and I had an event to go to with his family. And so I don't know them very well. And we were at a restaurant, and what was on the menu did not fall in line with my way of eating, like even a little bit. So I had coffee. In the sea of people eating around me, I had coffee. Pat, who was keto by that point, had a salad and a coffee, despite telling me he wasn't hungry, but he didn't want to seem odd. So I felt totally comfortable to be the odd one out and not eat anything. And I also wasn't hungry, by the way. So it was a lunch thing. And I didn't, at that point, I was already only doing one meal a day, and my meal was supper. So multiple levels there why I didn't touch anything. So fast forward to today, it's regular for me to go to events, whether they're baby showers, weddings, like it doesn't matter. If what they're serving doesn't suit what I want to eat, the answer is no, thank you. Do you have coffee? And the more you do it, the easier it gets, because not eating garbage equals I feel like this. Eating garbage equals I'm limping again. Eating garbage equals I have trouble sleeping. Eating garbage equals I'm putting holes in the foundation of this body that I'm trying to build. That means that it will take me even longer to potentially get to the point where my body is as healed as it can ever be. That's my goal. I want my body to be as healed as it can ever be. I don't know how long that's going to take. I really don't. But I've heard people say things like they got to the point where they were, for example, allergic to silver, and then they touched silver and didn't have a reaction. I'm allergic to silver. I would love to see if that might happen. Um, there's a lot of things that I'm looking forward to seeing. Could that go away? And I mean, my tinnitus went away. I wasn't even expecting that to go away, because I really thought that that was like some kind of inner ear problem that was physical. Like I had listened to a loud sound in my, and like something had damage in my ear. To find out that my tinnitus went away by eating properly, you cannot imagine how happy that made me. So absolutely want to point out, Wellness Warrior, that there's so many things that we think we can't do until we start doing it. And then we live the benefit of doing it. And it's like, yeah, nobody's taking this away from me now. That's just for like, nope, I'm keeping it. Mike Jr., hello. Glad that you're able to make it. I'm keto during the week, and on the weekends, I'm straight carnivore. I love it and wouldn't go back to eating carbs and sugar. I lost 225 pounds in three years ago. So you've been at this weight for 3 years. Congratulations. And thank you for letting people see that you can lose large amounts of weight and stay on track. That is exactly what I'm talking about, right? How many of us have lost large amounts of weight and kept it off multiple years? Something that I know for a fact in my life I was not able to do when I would go back to my standard diet, because you can't do it by going back to your standard diet. It doesn't work. So Nicole says, yes, we meal prepped a bunch of meals for the week. That's what worked the first time. So we are doing that again. Thanks for the advice. So then my second piece of advice for you is go back and look at what took you off track. Because if the first time you did it, you had any level of success, there was something that caused you to get off track. It might have been a party or an event that you went to. Something happened, right? And if you can figure out what that thing was, then you can problem solve for it in advance, Nicole. So that would be the other piece of the puzzle. I think a lot of times we live issues and we don't problem solve for it in advance. And by not problem solving for it in advance, then we end up um, having that problem reoccur and we still don't know the answer. Sorry, a little something in my throat. If we don't know the answer, we're not going to be able to fix it if it shows up again. So Laura says, doctors never seem to identify deficiencies. Years ago, a physician therapist told me she told her client to increase her vitamin D intake and it helped her client, but doctors had never mentioned it. I think that whenever the answer is something that's like simple enough that there isn't a medication or some kind of bigger something that we're going to benefit, so that, you know, like writing a prescription or doing a surgery or whatever, doctors don't see it, right? It's just like they're so looking for the medical answer, and maybe that's partially their training. Like it's the nutritionist's job to tell us to take a supplement or a vitamin or whatever. Like that's beneath me to tell you that. Even if I'm sitting in front of you right now and you know that that would be the answer that helps me. And the thing is, like, can we stop acting like people are bits and pieces and understand that I'm a complete person? And therefore, if you have an answer for me, I shouldn't have to go to a different doctor when you could tell me the answer, right? But that's what happens. We get pulled into that system. Yep, I agree with you totally. Mike Jr., drinking water, going for a walk. People think enjoying life is eating sugar. I hated being fat and always tired. I don't see my life without meat now. I have joy thinking about my one big meal. You know, what I find the most amazing for me, and hopefully, Mike, you get there at some point, is that my joy doesn't come from food at all. Like, it's so interesting to me how during the course of my week, I don't think about what I'm going to eat, except at 2 points. When I'm taking meat out of the freezer to put it in the fridge to defrost so that I can cook it at some point in the following few days. And even that I forget to do, because as I'm saying that to you, I'm realizing I haven't taken out any meat out of the freezer yet to cook for this week. So even that I don't always remember to do. But the other moment that I think about it, which is the one that I find the most appropriate and the one that I don't forget, is when I feel hungry and I start preparing to go cook whatever I'm going to cook. And I can do that because it only takes me 20 minutes. And so, like, there's 2 moments in my day where I'm thinking about food. Well, 1 moment daily, and sometimes 2, depending on what day of the week it is, and I have to put stuff in the fridge. But it's not all the time. And that makes me happy, because what it's telling me is that my mind isn't being controlled by meals and food and snacks and all the stuff that it used to be controlled by before. All the distractions that took me away from living my actual happy life, that had me focus on stupidity. So, and to me, focus on food, like what I'm going to eat, that's stupidity. Because the truth of the matter is, by the time I finish eating this thing, it has not advanced my happiness. Yes, if I eat the right food, it's advanced my health. So that's why I do it. That's why I pay attention to it. But back when I was eating junk, it was not advancing my health. It was not advancing my happiness, because I was usually not happy with my weight, not happy with my size. So it wasn't advancing my happiness. And it was causing so much frustration in my life to be always wondering and thinking about what's next to eat, what's next to eat, what's next. And I didn't like cooking either. So it's not like it was a fun endeavor for me to like be in the kitchen. And that's part of the reason that my meals look the way they look, by the way, 20 minutes in and out, because I don't like cooking. So the whole process equaled often I would eat either quick freezer foods like pizzas and stupidities, chicken pot pies and all that dumb stuff, or I would order food. None of that good for my wallet or my health. The way that I'm eating today, good for my health, good for my wallet, good for my mental health, and good for my exercise level because I actually have time to run out and do fun things because I'm not wasting time in the kitchen. You gotta love it. I love all of it. How much bacon is too much bacon? I don't think there's an answer to that, Lynn. I don't think there's an upper maximum of bacon eating. Um, okay, so the true answer is if you're only eating bacon, then you would eat to satiate. Sorry, you would eat to like you don't want to eat anymore. So that fullness thing. I want to clarify because it's not a full feeling, which I was talking to Emily Myers and she kind of said some stuff and it made me think about it and pay attention to myself. What did I feel when I felt it in this past week? It's not a full feeling. It's a full feeling. Like it's more of a thing than a physical feeling. When you're eating, your brain gives you and your body gives you a feeling, a sensation, a signal that that was enough. And a lot of it comes down to also it doesn't taste great anymore. So I like bacon. And if I was eating nothing but bacon, which I've done at restaurants when at breakfast restaurants when I was hungry, when you're eating the bacon, it tastes good until it doesn't. Same thing like when I'm eating ribs, they taste good until they don't. Uh, so there's a quite a few things that like eggs, another one. It tastes good until it doesn't. And I just get this moment of like, okay, I can't eat any more of this. That's important for us to pay attention to because it's the natural sign that your body gives you that you've had enough. So, let's see what we have here. Health is wealth. That's the rule you gave us here, and we are thankful for that. You saved my life, and I will always tell you that. I thank you so much for your time and love for us. Mike, I totally, first of all, appreciate that you still remember my health is wealth statement. I appreciate that you have gotten any kind of benefit out of these videos and these live streams. It's the reason I still do live streams, even though by the way, could you share the live stream? Because they don't move in YouTube, and so if you don't mind sharing them, I'd really appreciate that. But the reason I do this is that I know just answering these questions and continuing to do research and finding new answers, new solutions, new ideas, like new details, like the fact that chronic fatigue syndrome can be mitigated by eating um, B12, so meat and fish and eggs and all the things. Like the fact that there's an answer to that, amazing. So I want to share this information because people are walking around not feeling great when they could be feeling amazing. And that to me is just silly. Thank you, thank you, thank you, Mike, for being here, for watching. Thank you, everyone who's watching. I hope that I'm helping because that's the goal. So I appreciate you. Dexter McCarthy, hello. You're a Trini here. Thank you. Another Trini. I'm half Trini, half Bajan. Uh, Even I missed your live show. I always love your advice. I have become 100% meat based and feeling great. I love hearing that. I at least know in the islands we do like our meat, so it's not like we just need to cut down on the carbohydrates that we're eating and the ultra processed foods. Last week, indeed, I had a few events with friends at work, had like 3 drinks in 3 days. Oh boy, did I feel Saturday gout in my foot. Sorry to hear that, sweetheart. But thanks for sharing because learn from Pat. If you do take drinks and do these things, you're going to feel bad. And your body is only trying to help you, right? It's giving you these repercussions so that you can do better next time, right? So what happens if I go and I drink Perrier or I drink, so that's bubbly water. I don't know if everybody if that's all over the world. If I drink coffee, like what happens? Although if I'm doing a night thing, I'm not going to want to drink coffee. So I'm probably going to want to do bubbly water or something. But we need to help ourselves, right? And part of helping ourselves is sticking with it and making the tough choices. Mike said, going to a restaurant is easy now. I don't hesitate asking for a specific recipe. Don't care if it's going to be more expensive. Couldn't agree more. And if they don't or can't do that, I just order a glass of water. Yep. Thank you, Pat, for voicing that. Yes, you live and learn. I absolutely believe that that's the truth. Question. Whatever I wanted to say, your microphone is a good, clear sound. That's nice too. Oh, thank you for that. Thank you for letting me know that it's clear this week. Last week, I know we had issues. There was a setting turned off that I didn't realize got turned off in my streaming program, but it should be on now, and I'm glad that it's coming through loud and clear. Jersey Mike, is bulletproof coffee in the morning safe to continue your fast? Coffee, grass-fed butter, MCT oil. So if you're fasting, specifically fasting, then butter, well, anything with actual energy in it would and stop a fast. So that being said, if I'm specifically fasting, then I would drink my coffee black, which is what I do. If I'm not specifically fasting, then having some butter in the morning is fine, I believe, from what I've understood. It's not going to take your body long to manage the fat that came in, and it will allow you to let your body continue to do its repairs or whatever. Because the problem, the thing that interrupts fasting the most is your body having to process food. Processing food takes a very long period of time, and that's why let's say if you eat a meal, you only start actually in that fasting zone, according to Dr. Ekberg, after, I believe he said, 16 hours ish, right? Depending on what you ate, obviously. If you ate things like meat only, it could be a little faster, according to what I understood from him. But since most of us are eating veg, as soon as you introduce veg, there you're talking 16-ish hours. So that being said, if you're having just butter or ghee or even MCT oil in your coffee, then you're not going to stop the fasting. But I'm going to go back to what I said about MCT oil. If you're put butter in your coffee and you see ketones in your blood or urine or however you're checking, breath, however you're checking, then we know that your body made those ketones because it had to convert the butter to make the ketones. Same thing with like ghee or even coconut oil or any of the other oils. But as soon as you take MCT oil, that's straight ketones. Your body doesn't have to make them, but it will show them when you do a test. So as Dr. Barry said, like you can inject a dude with the hormone that says you're pregnant. He will pee on a stick and it will look like he's pregnant, but he's not pregnant. So, like we need to be careful about MCT oil. If you're not testing for ketones, and if you're eating low enough carb that you are guaranteed that you're in ketosis, my next question is, why are you taking the MCTs? Maybe you're taking them for mental health reasons. And if that's the case, no problem, go for it. But if it's not for mental health reasons, then my question is, why not let your body naturally produce ketones? Because when we're in a ketogenic state, our body wants ketones. If we feed it ketones, it doesn't have to make as many. And we're again slowing down our process. So these are things to think about. Javier has a question. Is it really very important for our body that we eat healthy food? Sorry, that's not a question. Is it? It is really important that we eat healthy food with salt and drink pure water. Don't be afraid of salt. Salt is so important. Um, I remember watching an interview between Dr. Barry and I'm not gonna be able to say his name, Dr. D. Nicolantino, I think, um, talking about the importance of salt. And it reminded me of my, oh my God, biology courses. And I'm trying to remember if that was high school or CJUP or if it was university, because I took it all the way through. But in one of those levels, I remember learning that every single cell of our body has a sodium potassium pump. And therefore, we need salt. Like it's not nice to have, it's absolutely necessary to have. We need sodium, we need potassium in the right amounts because that those pumps need to work all the time, all the time, all the time. So that professor kind of drilled that into my head that we need salt and we need potassium and that we should make sure that we get it. So um, I absolutely agree with you. We should not be in any way, shape, or form afraid of salt. And if you salt your food to taste, according to what I'm understanding from most of the doctors, that should be more than enough to help you to have the right amount of salt. So the next question, next new sub here, great live stream. Thank you, RG3, I guess that is. Thank you very much for being here. And Pat is asking if we he's welcoming the new people. And don't forget to leave a like, please. That would be great. I appreciate that too. A like would be very helpful. And it looks to me like we are at the end of our chat for today. That was amazing. I love when you guys have lots of comments and questions for me to go through because that's just super fun. Wellness Warrior, there is a video that I've linked so that you can get your cravings under control. Click on that. And I will talk to you next Monday, 11:20, with a new topic and answering your questions. Have a great rest of your day, guys. Bye.